Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And today I want to talk about a new knife. This is a new knife, new folding knife from a relatively new company called Beans Blades. This is their Mini Warrior folder. And I'm so excited to talk about something that doesn't look like everything else. Have you ever done that where, you go online, you're looking to see what's out there and what's new, and you just keep seeing a knife that looks like another knife that looks like another knife, and that gets old. It doesn't get the juices flowing. But today we're talking about a knife that does not follow the trends. It does not follow the molds, and it's from a US designer called Derek Beans, who has started doing this whole knife making thing, the whole knife designing thing, since about 2019, which means that he is relatively new to the community. So shout out to Derek Beans. He's not the one that provided this to me. This was provided to me by Blade Runner HQ, and this knife is 100% available on that website. I will link to it down below, so make sure to check out the description if you want one of these. And after you get done listening to what I have to say, you might actually want to click on that link and check it out. First of all, this knife costs $460, and before your hat blows off, let me tell you why. This is an OEM production by Riot. Riot has some of the best fit and finish production quality of any knife manufacturer that does production work, period. And that is not an exaggeration. Riot has been known to make some of the best knives that money can buy, and the prices always reflect that. Also, if you were to take a look at any of their recent premium material releases, you'd see that they typically range anywhere in the realm of about $370 to about $480, and that is pretty standard for Riot made knives competing at this level. We have a 7 1/4 inch overall length with a 3-inch Americanized Tonto blade that's made entirely of M390 and is PVD coated. The handle scales are titanium with this jungle wear fat carbon fiber overlay, and on the clip side it is entirely titanium with a 3D milled titanium pocket clip and a 3D milled titanium backspacer. For the hardware, it features T8 clip screws, T8 lock bar insert, T8 body screws, and a spanner type pivot that does kind of remind me of something that RJ Martin created. This knife features a lot of things that I really like, and I'm going to start off with what is probably my favorite, and that is the action. I was thinking about how best to describe the action because I'm getting tired of saying that actions are good or not good or average. Instead, I'll just use a metaphor. The action feels like melted butter sliding down a pane of glass with Don't Stop Believin' playing in the background. It is smooth. It is quite possibly the best action that I felt all year long in 2024. It is really quite that good. Something else that I'm a huge fan of is this blade shape. I already mentioned it's an Americanized Tonto, and that is to say that there is 2 clear edges and there is no belly. What that means is that you can get a perfect utility style cut without leveraging your wrist too much, and you can do that on either one of these 2 tips because it not only has 2 distinct edges, it also has 2 distinct tips. Also, the blade geometry is such where you could get some serious use out of it because the spine of the blade stays thick from tang to tip, and that means that if you do need to jab into anything, it will stay solid and it will not break off because that blade geometry is meant to get work done. Also, the ergos feel pretty dang good, and a lot of that has to do with the chamfering and contouring that we see here on the handle scales. It encourages your hand to fit into the right places without telling you specifically where to place your fingers or how large your fingers have to be. It's just comfortable. The balance is equally weighted from side to side, and it works well in a reverse grip as well. So if you need that extra leverage for some puncturing activities, it's not going to fail you there either. And finally, the T8 hardware. At this price point, at the $460 mark, I am so happy to see T8 hardware all around. That is fantastic. But it's not like I love everything about this knife. As with everything, there's usually something that I can nitpick. And I have to point it out, it's the pivot. This is a spanner type pivot, which you could find on Tie Connector. I looked for it specifically, but then just got tired of it. We saw this with the RJ Martin style designs like the ZT 0609. And yes, you could find tools for that. But my issue is that it's not typically a tool that knife enthusiasts typically have. I've got a million T8 bits and T10 bits and so on and so forth in the Torx range. I don't have a single spanner type bit. If you buy this knife and you look to maintenance it, I would go to Tie Connector and pick up one of their spanner bits to fit this because that's what you'll need to take the pivot off. And next is something that I would not call a negative, but more of a suggestion. The first time I did a video on it, many people pointed out that they didn't like how the maker's logo was on the blade because it's a black blade with a white logo, and that typically stands out. You see, the community really does enjoy sterile blades where the blade and the design does the talking instead of the billboarding. Now, I have a suggestion, like I mentioned, and that suggestion would be to change this pivot to a large single-sided captive Torx pivot. And you could have a flat blank side here for the show side and then have the Torx end here on the clip side. But that would allow you to take that logo and migrate it over to the pivot. And that way, if you absolutely must put your brand somewhere, people can still see what it is. And even if they can't, they'll start asking questions. And that is most definitely the attention that you want to get when you're looking at a knife like the Beans Blade Mini Warrior. Something that's kind of interesting is that ever since I got my hands on this from Blade Runner HQ, I had to look into the maker. I had to look into the designer because the story behind the knives are always something that's intrigued me. And Beans Blade started off by making some pretty sweet fixed blades. First of all, with the Warrior and then the Mini Warrior. And those are really good looking custom American made fixed blades. Those are also available at Blade Runner HQ if you want to check them out. Just type in Beans Blades and all the options will pop up. They're really quite interesting to me, and I enjoy the fact that they don't look like everything else and they're not a carbon copy of something like a benchmade bug out while asking for re-op money. And if you're not a huge fan of the Jungle Wear carbon fiber, or maybe $460 is too rich for your blood, they do have other options, other carbon fiber, and even a micarta option, which I believe comes in around $375. And you'd still get things like the awesome ergos, the great materials, and that action, which is something that honestly I think about late at night. But now I'm interested to see what you have to say. What do you think of the Beans Blades Mini Warrior? Are you considering it? Are you going to look into those knives? If not, why not? Let's have a discussion in the comment section down below. And if you want to watch more awesome knife and EDC content, make sure to click on one of the videos that pops up next.